Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the UX demos, the infrequent series where we try and have a look at what needs to be done with the Foreman UI. Today, we've got a new presenter for you, Teresa, who's going to be taking us through the Audits UI, which I think everyone would agree is crufty, to say the least. So I think you've not been with us that long, right, Teresa? So you've still getting up to speed with how the project's evolved over time, I guess. But that page is really old, really old. So I think it's in need of some love. Tell us what you've got in mind, what analysis you've been doing.
Thank you for the intro. So we've done some heuristic evaluation of the audits, and we found a few potential usability issues and decided to do overall redesign of the feature. So what we found, or what challenge I see, is it was pretty hard to navigate and understand the hierarchy. And also there were some inconsistencies with other pages. So sometimes what I could see is like we could combine two tabs into one interaction. Some color coding issues, for example, people with vision impairment would have a hard time seeing what kind of label is being applied to an element. And also some icons were missing. So it was overall inconsistent, and there was a room for improvement. So once we identified the problems and issues, we mocked up some new interaction and interface. I worked closely with Marek and engineers. We've done several iterations on the prototype, implemented feedback, and then we want to get more feedback from the community. So what I'm going to do is...
Just while you're setting up your screen share, just remind everyone that you can get hold of us on our IRC channel or on the YouTube Live for the YouTube video itself. I'll be monitoring those for questions. I'll show the end slide before we finish. So if you do have any questions, get in touch while we're live, and I'll relay those to Teresa. Do remember to up the quality of the stream. It defaults to something stupidly low, and it makes it very hard to see the wireframes. So make sure you hit that settings button and update your settings. Okay, back to you.
And I'll be sharing the prototype with you later so everyone can click through it and understand, but it's easier to explain it in words live. So what you're looking at is new redesign, how I imagine would be a better implementation of viewing audits. What you can see is you're looking at list view, which is compliant with our pattern flight library, but also the organization of item is slightly different. We decided we would go with the organization by user added, like an action, host, and the name of it, because it creates some kind of a sentence. But so right now we're seeing the main homepage of audits. If I would be curious and wondering what is behind this admin, so I can click on that, expand, and I can see more information about this host that was added by admin on March 2nd. I can see more host details, or I can also revert information. But more, what I can see is these items were added. If I'm wondering about the next job invocation, I can expand and see that some of the items were edited, and I can revert that, see host details. Everything can be exported, which is a new functionality that wasn't in old audits. Some elements I know do have comments, so we display comments as well. They're only read-only for the users. So what I can do is go back and see my main screen. But then what if I'm wondering about this specific host? So what I can do is click on that host and see that when I click on that, it filtered by that Grant Haley host. And now I can see what changes were done and who has done the changes in timeline organized by time and date. what actions were done with it. And if I'm wondering, okay, this admin, what has he done? So I can see that these items were added. And again, I can collapse it. If I want to go back, I can clear my search. And again, if I'm curious about this Grand Haley host, I can click on that. So it's this easy to use filtering functionality. So that has been the flow, how I would imagine that. There are some questions I'm still asking, and that is, for example, is it a good idea that we're organizing the information by admin or by the user? Would that be better to see it by host or by the type? I've gotten feedback from engineers. We're going back and forth, but then we decided in terms of a sentence structure and as a user would read it, admin makes more, or organizing it by user makes more sense. Yeah, so I believe I've covered most of it. And
so a couple of things that, you know, when you ask that question about being able to, what you should be able to sort by, I keep wondering, you know, can we add in any type of mechanism that'll allow the user to sort of choose that sort that might be separate from the current filter search? A couple other points is that I love seeing the export button there, because I know that that's a big feature throughout the entire UI that users want to see more and more often. They want to be able to export tables because they're showing their boss or they're showing whoever. And that I really liked that you implemented the Patternfly list view. I think that this particular list view interaction is helpful in showing parent-child relationships. And I think there's several opportunities within the UI to use this. And I know that some design work I've been looking at has been using list view. So I think that will not only add a sense of consistency, but a better organization of information.
Thank you for the feedback. That has been great addition.
I think I'm just going to check the channel to see if anyone else has got questions coming on. So the Tom McKay is watching, unsurprisingly, since he loves export to CSV. So he asked why this was not laid out as a table with headers, like we use in other pages. Is there a particular reason why this isn't a table?
I have considered table is just like the list view gave it a cleaner look, and you can expand on that, and it's already existing component that I'm using right here. So I have played with the table idea, but I decided to go with the list view as it gave a more cleaner look to the UI.
I think the list view, like Teresa was saying, it offers those quicker snapshots. That one of the issues with tables, and a complaint I hear from users, is that using them all the time isn't always effective, because sometimes it's causing them to drill down for information a lot, when sometimes they just want to see it floated to the top a little more. That said, I think being able to filter by column headers is a huge benefit to tables, but I think it's something we can accomplish with this as well. It's just a matter of getting that, formulating that interaction and getting that.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it, haven't you? Because I think on a page like this, I'm looking at the wireframe and I'm thinking, well, the columns themselves in this case are pretty self-explanatory, right? I mean, it's pretty obvious. We've got users, actions, types, and the object that it's associated to, and a timestamp. This seems, it's the first time I'm seeing this wireframe, although admittedly I am already familiar with the audits page as it was, but it makes sense. So in the sense of providing information to the user, the table headers don't do a lot, right? But it's that sorting that's key, because you were asking the question, is it sensible to group by the user? And of course, if you use a table, then each user has his own choice as to how to do the grouping, which is absolutely, well, sorting anyway. So that's the key, isn't it? Is how do we recover that functionality? Because I think you're right. I don't think there's going to be a one-size-fits-all when it comes to how to group your audits, right? You want to be able to slice it in different ways.
And I believe the list view pattern does have a filtering mechanism already that we can definitely look into and try to implement. I think that, it all goes back to Teresa's question that she posed to everyone, which is, what other filtering do you think would be valuable here, so that we can come up with something that kind of fits most cases?
Well, I mean, just throwing ideas around here since we've got plenty of time. You've already got clickable, the object column. Let's call it object. The host name, the audit entry, and so on. That's clickable, and it's what do I want? It's single page load. It doesn't reload the page, unlike which most of our searches do, right?
Mimic it on the user, right?
So so you could make more of these things do the same thing. The only problem I see with that is that it's not so easy to do combination stuff. Like if I want to filter by the host and the user, then simply clicking on things isn't going to be enough, I don't think. But I don't know the right way to draw that.
But that functionality is still offered in the filter bar.
Yeah, it's just the speed of just being able to click and get that. Well, I mean, could you click on the host again, Teresa? Right, so that's what, about 30 characters? It's a lot quicker to click than to type, right? So,
totally agree.
So if I want that and type user admin, right, that's a lot of typing. Now, I'm not saying that our users are lazy. Sorry for the background noise, by the way. It's like 30 degrees Celsius here, and I have to have my windows open. So Scotland does not get this hot very often, seriously. We can't deal with it. So, yeah, I think it's nice to be able to group those filters, because I can definitely see me getting into a situation where I'm like, I want to know what happened to this host. Okay, I've got that now. I'm seeing that. But now I can still see there's a lot of things that happen to the host, right? So now I want to ask the question, well, I'm pretty sure it was this person, so show me all the things done by that person with respect to this host. So I can see those combination filters going to be really important. And I would argue that's different to sorting, right? So therefore, you don't necessarily need a table.
We are not removing the filter functionality. It's still there. Now you can add by type, or you can basically filter by types. But it's a great idea to add another quicker filters.
And just as a note, we hear from users they love this very complicated filter where they can build their own strings. But we're also hearing at the same time, how can we introduce more quick filter stuff? Right, that doesn't require any typing. It's just 2 clicks away, 1 click away.
Right, exactly. And you know what this leads me to think about, and this is possibly a bit of a larger talking point than just for the audits page. But I think about the number of websites, particularly shops, where you go and you click something, and that's adding I want to say breadcrumb. That's not the right word, but you know how you get little tags with X's on that you can then remove them again from your filtering. That ability to kind of build up. What's the word I want for that? Do you know what I'm talking about there?
Yeah, that is for list view. That is the current filtering that they offer.
Right, so you can build up these little blocks underneath the filter bar, right? And then if you won't get rid of them, you can get rid of them. I feel like that ability to kind of take certain pre-made searches and use that along with potentially more complex expressions, that's not an easy problem to solve, I would imagine, but it could be very interesting and very powerful.
Yeah, I think tagging, filtering, searching is its own should be its own UX department.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I think we've gone into that fair way. Just looking around, the export is to CSV, presumably.
Yes,
correct.
Yeah, I figured it would be, but it's a good question. So thanks, Tom, for that one as well. Credit where credit is due. Just going to check some of the channels. So I'm not seeing any other questions from anybody else. And I think we covered my main thing, which was how to handle that filtering. What's next for this? Where do you see this going next? So obviously we want to have some more discussion. Presumably we want to take these wireframes to the forum.
So I would love to get more feedback in terms of usability, or if anyone has more use cases. So what I've heard is the filtering could be potential enhancement of this feature. We'll post this. I would like to get more feedback, and we'll work on adding the additional feedback into the prototype, and then hopefully we'll move into implementation and make some changes in the Foreman audits.
That would be awesome. Let's have a last check for questions, because you never know what comes up. The thing you always have to remember is that YouTube runs about 30 seconds to a minute behind, so whenever we say things, we have to wait a bit to see if anybody wants to comment on it. But I don't see anything just now. Okay, well, Great. I look forward to reading some more about that on our development board. This video, as always, will be on our YouTube channel, and you'll always be able to access it from the events page on the forum as well. For now, though, that's been a nice demo. So thank you very much, Teresa. You can find us in all the usual places, on IRC, on Mastodon, or Twitter, if you must, on YouTube. I'm not going to bore you with the like, subscribe stuff that's on everybody else's video, right? You already know that. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Do take care.
Thanks, guys.